Welcome to the Rock and Roll Ghost podcast. We have acclaimed actor and filmmaker and novelist Nick Searcy here today. He's going to be talking a little bit about his co-starring role as James Baker in the upcoming biopic Reagan, which stars Dennis Quaid as Ronald Reagan. And you also want to talk a little bit about your recently released book, Justify This: A Career Without Compromise, as well, I heard.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Well, first, thank you for coming on the show. I really appreciate it. Where are you at today?
I'm at my palatial home in Franklin, Tennessee.
Okay. I thought you were still in California the last thing I read, but you moved?
I still spend some time in California, but
obviously for work and stuff.
We have an outpost.
Oh, I got you. So when you were working out there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry. Just a little flustered today. Well, tell me a little bit about your book. What made you decide to finally write a book that encapsulated your career? And there were so many things that were interesting that I didn't know about you before I started looking into you a little bit.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So tell me about Justify This. What prompted you to write it?
Well, I was approached with the idea and didn't really, at first, I was sort of like, I don't know, is anybody going to want to read this? But then, as I started doing it, it's like, it's pretty interesting, really, if I do say so myself. It's sort of, it's just a book about how a kid from North Carolina who didn't know anybody who'd ever been an actor.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up born in 1959, and so very different world back then. And just sort of how I did it, how I kind of figured it out and became a professional actor, and that it's I hope it's inspiring to people. It's sort of one of those stories that's like, if you really want something bad enough, you can do whatever you want to do.
Yeah. What makes a kid from North Carolina want to become an actor exactly?
I'm not really sure where it all started, but I do know that when I was younger, even in the early grades, like elementary school and stuff, I was a good reader. So if there was ever any sort of a pageant or a play or something, I would always do most of the heavy lifting. And then I grew up in a university town, Cullowhee, North Carolina, and there's a local university there, Western Carolina University. And when I was in the fifth grade, they needed a little boy for one of their plays.
Mm-hmm.
And they came down to my school and said, talk to the teacher, who should we get? And then she said, you should get Searcy. He's been doing Tom Jones impressions and show and tell. I think he wants to be an actor. So after I did that play, I was like, wow, this is it. And
yeah.
I just remember when I was about 12 watching the Mary Tyler Moore Show on television, I remembered the moment I thought, those people look like they're having fun. I want to do that.
Yeah. Now, would you say your career has been fun so far?
Yeah, I mean it has. I mean, it was kind of a struggle for me. I really didn't get to the point of making a living as an actor until I was about 31.
Yeah.
I was 31, 32. I spent a long time in New York, doing a lot of plays, and that was fun, but it was the whole starving actor cliche.
Yeah.
But even then, I have fond memories of what I did back then, and I've been a very fortunate actor. I've been able to do comedy and drama, and I've done sitcoms and hour-long series and movies and plays, and I've done everything you could hope to do as an actor.
Yeah, I have to imagine. What years were you in New York doing plays?
82 to 89.
Okay, that's still kind of a rough time for New York.
Yeah. Yeah, I was 7 years there. I've met my wife there. I mean,
oh wow,
I had a great time there. I really did. I mean, at the time it seemed hard, but we were in our 20s, so we were partying like crazy and staying up late. And I had a job as a legal proofreader, and that was an all-night job. I'd go to work at like 11 p.m. and work until 7. So if I was doing a play, I'd go do the play and leave the play and go to work.
Yeah. While being young, staying up all. I used to be a baker in my 20s, so staying up all night, you can do that then, even though it's not easy.
No, no.
Well, what got you to move out to Hollywood? What was it a role, or was it just a career decision?
Well, my wife and I moved out of New York City when she became pregnant with our first child, Chloe, and so the idea was that my wife went back to Western Carolina University
Hmm.
and got a master's degree, and with the idea that after she got that degree, she'd be more employable, and we would go out to California and give that a shot.
Gotcha.
But what happened when I was in North Carolina is that I wound up starting to get small roles in films,
Hmm.
and then I wound up getting a big role in Fried Green Tomatoes, which
Right.
put me on the map. And so we were able to move to California, and I already had an agent when
That's
we
cool.
moved there. So we kind of hit California with the ball already rolling. So that was good.
I'm going to tell you something really funny. My grandparents, when they moved from here in Illinois down to North Carolina in the 80s, and I was visiting them when Fried Green Tomatoes came out, and I actually went to, I think it was oh crap, I think Hendersonville, uh
Yeah,
because they were outside of Brevard, and I
I
went to
was
the.
born in Hendersonville.
Oh wow, that's
My whole
cool.
family's from Hendersonville.
So where you grew up is kind of near there.
Yeah, it's probably 65 miles from Hendersonville,
That's the
Columbia.
general area, yeah. So I went to the mall and I saw Fried Green Tomatoes in North Carolina. I just
Hmm.
the coincidence of it is just odd.
That's crazy.
Because
Yeah.
I mean, considering I didn't live there, and then you're from North Carolina, that's
Yeah.
really cool. North Carolina is a really nice state, actually. I did like it when I went down there.
It's a
uh,
lovely
I
place.
haven't been there in forever though, but
Yeah.
so you get the role, and then you kind of start working. You did The Fugitive, you did Nell, you
Yeah.
get cast as Deke Slayton on From the Earth to the Moon, and in between that, you directed your first film, right?
Yeah. In 96, I directed, it was called Paradise Falls at the time, but the
Right.
title had been changed to Carolina Low,
Hmm.
and it's available on Amazon. But yeah, in 96, I had moved back to North Carolina from LA to do a series called American Gothic.
Okay, I vaguely remember that show. Yeah.
And a friend of mine that was on that show, who was also from my hometown, he showed me this script that he wrote, and we just sort of got the idea. Let's raise some money and make it. So we did.
Yeah. You've directed a few things. How what compelled you? I mean, obviously you chanced into that script, but what was it about directing that made you think, okay, I'm ready to do this?
Well, it's funny when I graduated from high school, I went to North Carolina School of the Arts, and my roommate at that time was a filmmaker, and he made like Super 8 films.
Hmm.
And I just sort of, watched him do that. And then I left there and went to North Carolina because everybody at North Carolina School of the Arts was insane. And so I left there and went to UNC. But I continued to make Super 8 films and edit them myself and do that, when I was not doing plays or whatever. So
Oh,
it was
cool.
something that I've just kind of done all along. And so when the opportunity came up for me to direct an actual film, I felt like I'd already done it before. So
Yeah. No, it's
it was
very
just the,
cool.
the film was bigger. It's not
Yeah,
Super
yeah.
8.
Well, your most recent film was the film about the serial killer Gosnell, right?
Yes.
What
Yeah, that's
tell
the
me
last
tell
one
me
I
about
directed.
that.
Well, the producers of that movie, I kind of helped them raise money for it, and then they asked me if I knew a director that might direct it, and so I asked a few people they met with a few people, and they were all too scared to
Yeah.
to direct it because it was kind of controversial, and so they said they, came back to me and said, "Do you know anybody else?" I said, "Well, I can do it." I showed them Carolina Low, and after they watched the film, they hired me. So.
Yeah. Very cool. And what do you plan on trying to direct something else? You working on something?
Yeah, I've been writing scripts with a partner. there's a couple of movies kicking around that I'm hoping to direct. One's about gospel quartet music in the 60s.
Yeah.
That's you know, a lot of my uncles and cousins are preachers and singers, and so
Yeah.
that was something that pretty fond, dear to my heart. And then a friend of mine wrote a movie called Revolutionary, which is about the first battle in the Revolutionary War that the Americans actually won, the Battle of Kings Mountain.
Okay.
So those are two that I'm hoping to get funded and direct
Oh,
in the
cool.
next.
Very no, keep at it. I think that's great that you're a man of many talents. So that's very cool.
Well, I'm sort of, you know, I'm kind of leaning more into the directing thing because for some reason now the only roles I get offered anymore are old men. I'm getting kind of sick of it.
Yeah, no, I gotta admit, I thought for some reason I thought you were older than you were. I don't know why. And
Yeah.
you know what's funny is because Justified is one of my favorite shows. I watch it at least once or twice a year. I
Yeah.
mean, it's absolutely one of my favorite, and it never gets old. But it's funny that, you know, on the show, Raylan acts like you're his father almost.
Right.
And you and Timothy are only 9 years apart.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's probably what threw it back in my mind.
Right.
That like, oh, he's got to be. You know, I never looked it up. I was like, oh, he's got to. You know, just based on that. But it's like Harrison Ford and Sean Connery in Last Crusade. You know.
Well, you know, Tim eats right, and you know he's had all that plastic surgery, and you know.
I don't want to take up too much of your time on Justified, but man, I mean, you know, would you call that one of your best, maybe even your best role?
It's definitely the one most people remember. I mean,
Yeah.
like, you know, we live in Kentucky part of the time too, and you know, I'm a huge star in Kentucky. I mean, everywhere I walk in, go, it's Art Mullen. Oh my God, you know, it's like because everybody in Kentucky is very proud of that show.
It's so damn good, and you know, I don't know, I don't quite. It's built an audience over the years, obviously, because they ended up doing the semi sequel with Timothy, which I didn't think was as successful. It just didn't have the flair, really.
Well, that's such a bad idea. I mean, you know, you have a hit show that everybody loves, and then you make another one with nobody in it except for the lead guy.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense.
It felt like because it wasn't, the story wasn't a Raylan Givens story to begin with. It felt like he just didn't belong.
No, and he didn't. It was a bad idea.
Yeah, but there were some good things. Timothy was great in it. I loved Boyd Holbrook as the villain. But yeah, the overall opinion, I turned my father on to Justified, and he loved it, and we both weren't really thrilled with the reboot. But the next series might get, if they do, it might get back to him and Boyd. So, you know, that idea is kind of cool.
I don't have any inside knowledge about that.
Yeah, no,
you know,
there hasn't been anything I mean, Timothy's been doing other things anyways while all this talk has been going on.
Right.
What's probably your favorite moment from Justified? And I'll tell you mine for your work.
Well, a lot of my favorite moments are not necessarily in the show, but just like funny things that we did because we had a lot of fun. I mean, I loved all those guys. They were fun to play around with. Probably my favorite moment in the show is the slow chase. You know, the when I'm at the airport and
That's my favorite.
Yeah,
that's my favorite. You and oh my God, what's his name?
Scott.
He passed. Scott Wilson.
Yeah,
that was a hilarious episode.
Yeah, it was really good, and that was directed by my friend John Avnet, who directed Fried Green Tomatoes.
Yeah, awesome. I didn't realize I forgot. There's so many people that kind of came in and that were known for other things. I forgot that John did that, but that's really, to me, one of the best things TV's ever produced, and you were just absolutely amazing in it.
Well, thank you. Yeah, John is he directed some episodes of about 3 different things that I've done, and every time I see John, I always go, "Hey, Is everybody calling you the man who discovered Nick Searcy yet? And Avnet always goes, yeah, but they don't mean it as a compliment. No, so.
Well, I mean, I'm just looking at your, and obviously the funniest thing is the fact that, ended up being on Justified and you were in The Fugitive, which got a call back in Justified a lot.
Right.
And every time I watch it, for some reason, I forget you played that guy.
Yeah.
And I always get like a nice smile when I see you on screen. I'm like, and he's playing a guy Art probably wouldn't like.
Right. 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 Yeah, that was. Well, The Fugitive, actually, that was the first role I got after I moved to LA.
Okay.
And they flew me right back. The Fugitive was shot in my hometown in North Carolina.
Oh, okay.
So 6 months after I moved to LA, they flew me back to my hometown to do The Fugitive.
Oh, that's great. I wasn't sure how much of that. I know a lot of it was filmed here in Chicago.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that they went outside of Illinois. I figured they just went downstate for some of those scenes.
They filmed the train wreck and the hospital scenes in North Carolina.
Okay.
Much.
That makes sense. What's been your favorite film, like one that you could actually go back and watch and say, yeah, that's even if maybe you have issues watching yourself in it, you
let's see. What would I like to go back and watch? There's a really obscure film called Deadly End.
Okay.
Where I play this kind of serial poisoner. And
wow.
I'm poisoning all my neighbors, and I really pick on the ones that are young and having sex.
Oh,
I can't stand that.
Okay.
And so I'm pretty good in that. But it's pretty raunchy. It's like my wife and daughter still won't watch it. So
yeah,
but I like it.
What year did that come out?
What year was that? I believe that was 2002.
Okay. All right.
Something like that.
Are you happy that after Fried Green Tomatoes you weren't like kind of cast as every abusive, redneck?
Well, I did for quite a while. I did do a lot of abusive rednecks. I think I got killed by Christine Lottie on Chicago Hope because I was trying to rape her or something.
Oh, great.
It's like that's the joke I used to tell my stand-up is like after Fried Green Tomatoes, I kept getting a lot of these wife-beating husbands and serial killers and all this stuff. And and I'm beating up women and kicking them down staircases and throwing them in mine shafts. And go to my wife and I go, why do you think I keep getting all these parts where I beat up women? I don't get it. And Leslie goes, well, you don't look like you could beat up a man. So,
oh, jeez.
Man, but that tells you a lot more about
Lord,
than it does about me. She's really mean. I've been married to her for 38 years.
Well, congratulations for making it last.
Thank you. Yeah, I've taken a lot. A lot of crap.
So get back. Sorry if I dovetailed away from the book. It just came out in May. How's the response been so far?
Well, pretty good. I mean, everybody seems to like it. I've gotten really positive reviews on Amazon. It's one of those things. I didn't, when I released it, I was like, I don't know if this is any good or not, because sometimes if you're just sort of telling your own story, it doesn't seem that interesting to you, or that's at least the feeling I had. But people seem to really like it, and we're talking about maybe doing another one, and there's a lot of stuff I didn't put in there that I could do in a second one. But everybody that's read it, I guess if they hated it, they wouldn't call me up and tell me, but everybody seems to like it. Are we frozen? Uh-oh. Still there?
Sorry, I don't know what happened when there was a disconnection, probably on my end.
Okay.
Sorry, I'll just do a take two on the book, your thoughts on the book. You got good reviews and you were starting to say something and it cut off.
Yeah, everybody that's read it seems to really enjoy it and find it really interesting. I mean, of course, it's my story. So while I was writing it, I was like, I don't know if this is interesting or not. It just seems like, mundane to me. But a lot of people have found it very interesting and told me that, they recommended it to people. So,
Yeah, I'm gonna actually I read everything on my phone now, so I'm gonna pick it up for Kindle.
oh, cool.
Yeah,
There's
just to
also an audio book that I did.
yeah. I don't know. My sister loves audiobooks. And not that I don't want to hear your voice. It's just I like to read. I still like to read. I just don't like
Yeah,
holding a damn book in my hands. I don't know why.
right.
I've kind of jettisoned myself straight into the future, I guess.
Right. Right.
On some things, I'm 53, so there's some things you can't make me do at this point.
Right. Right. No, I get it. You're
Um, well,
set
tell
in
me a
your
little.
ways.
Yeah, yeah. Tell me a little bit about Reagan. You played James Baker, which, I mean, if people have any idea about politics, they know who James Baker is,
Yeah.
chief of staff, just bunch of different things. He ran George W's, no, HW, sorry. Sometimes I get them mixed up in my head. HW's first presidential campaign
Right.
when he was running against Reagan. The movie was filmed in like 2020, 2021, but it's kind of been on hold for some reason. How do you feel about the experience of working on it and of playing James Baker?
Well, it was an honor. I mean, I wanted to be a part of that movie anyway because I was a big Reagan fan,
Hmm.
and proud when they asked me to play James Baker. Even prouder when they put the wig on me. I have a great wig in
Yeah,
that
yeah,
movie. So, but that was good. And James Baker's a really interesting character. I mean, he's kind of a probably nowadays I would call him a swamp creature in a way. He was kind of a moderate, and he was able to play both sides, and and he was a real political operator.
hmm
And in fact, he did campaign for Gerald Ford um,
hmm
when Ford won the nomination in '76.
right,
Baker was campaigning against Reagan,
yeah,
and then, but even after Reagan won in 1980, of course, he came on as chief of staff for Reagan
right,
because
right,
even though that, and I think that was just a symbol of how kind of much more, what's the word, polite our politics were back then. They
indeed.
didn't hold it against him that he didn't campaign for Reagan. They said, "You're a good Republican, and you're a good operator, and we need you."
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's always important to surround yourself with the right people.
Yeah,
I definitely think I definitely think back to that time, and Reagan definitely had the right people
yeah.
around him. Um, what was the filming? It was a pretty low budget film compared to most films nowadays. It's kind of interesting because it has like a combination character in that John Voight plays. He plays a Russian agent, right?
Right.
And then he basically is the one narrating the story about basically all the information that they could collect on Reagan, or basically telling about his life. And Quaid plays Reagan.
Yeah.
um what was filming like, and have you actually been able to see a cut of the final cut of the film yet?
I haven't seen the film yet. I've seen pieces of it, because I had to go in and do some looping. But, the
Mhm.
filming was, I mean, working with Dennis was a lot of fun. I mean, the actors that were there were terrific. I had a really good experience with the actual work. It was kind of a crazy shoot because we shot that right in the middle of COVID,
Right,
and there were all these nutty restrictions that SAG had put on us, and
yeah,
like none of the actors could ride in the same golf cart.
yeah,
Like we all had to have our own golf carts to come to the set.
yeah,
And one of the most ridiculous things was that we were shooting this scene where it was supposed to be the 1976 Republican National Convention. We're all crowded together in this little room that they were trying to make it look like a crowded, convention floor. So they bring me to the set in my golf cart. I don't have a mask, because apparently actors are superhuman and don't need to wear masks. But all the crew had a mask, and then all the extras, all the background people, they were all in costume. They all had masks on.
Yeah.
I'm going, what are we going to do? And so the first AD said, well, everybody, when you hear me say rolling, everybody take your mask off and put it in your pocket.
Right.
And we'll do the scene for about a minute and a half. And then after it's over, you put your mask back on.
Right.
And I said, yeah, because everybody, you remember in the scene, it's 1976. And
Right.
so the virus didn't exist then. So
Right.
if you're a really good actor, you can make the virus believe that it's 1976 and none of us will die. You know, I mean, it's just stuff like that. It's just,
Yeah, no, I you know, I think looking back, there were certain things people were probably being hyper, you know,
hyper cautious. Yeah.
hyper cautious, and you know, with the benefit of hindsight now, we kind of see that some of those things probably weren't really worth, you know,
Well,
not worth doing, but didn't make a damn bit of difference.
No. Well, Screen Actors Guild, of course, they were the most overboard about it of anybody. So
Yeah.
the rules they put in place were rather comical.
Yeah, but I mean, in the end, too. Also, I think back to that time, and it's like, I mean, hardly anyone had a real handle on what the hell was happening.
Yeah, no, that's true. At least for the first few months. I mean,
yeah. It's weird. I feel like I've almost wiped away that period of time from my brain, to be honest, because I'll watch things where they talk like from that time, or you know, people talking about it. I'm like, God, I feel like I don't even remember what happened, and it was just a few years ago. It's a weird scene.
Well, it was crazy. I made 2 documentaries during COVID because you know, it was like nobody's doing anything. So
Yeah.
I'll go make a documentary.
Yeah. So I don't know how much more time you have, but I'd like to ask a couple more questions if that's
Sure.
all right.
Go ahead.
So you're living in Tennessee now. What was the benefit of moving back down south for you?
Well, taxes, of course.
Yeah, California's expensive.
And California is just, I mean, it's going downhill fast. I mean, it's really not a pleasant place to live anymore. It's you know, the government there has ruined it with the homelessness and the how expensive everything is. And I think it was really the whole COVID thing, because California was so shut down during COVID, and everybody complied, which made it even more miserable. And, you know, I had been telling my wife, just for tax reasons, we should move for, you know, a long time before that. But when COVID hit, she was like, you're right, we got to get out of here. So,
yeah. What's your little area in Tennessee like? I mean, where do you live? Like somewhere kind of hidden away, or?
No, not really. I mean, in fact, we have 2 places. We have one in Kentucky and one in Franklin, Tennessee.
Yeah.
And the house in Franklin is you know, it's very convenient. It's 15 minutes from the airport. Where Franklin is a very nice little convenient town. Everything I need is really nearby. Our house in Kentucky, which I won't say which town because it's kind of remote, but it's much more just like country living. I mean, we've got 16 acres and we've got a little garden, and you know, it's a beautiful place.
Well, I mean, it's kind of reassuring that, you know, somebody that you're not, you know, Tom Cruise or anything, you know, but you and your wife were able to, you know, have a family and own a couple of places and have yourself a peaceful life. I think that's pretty awesome.
Yeah, and both of our kids are kind of, you know, gone into show business, which I'm not so sure I would have recommended. But
yeah,
my daughter is a writer. Her husband just released a movie that was in theaters called Thelma.
Yeah, it's still playing.
Did really well. It's a great movie, and he wrote and directed it.
That's very cool.
They write together, and my son is on the crew of Real Housewives of Atlanta right now.
Oh, those Real Housewives! What fun that every time I see a commercial, my head wants to explode. For any of them, any of the Real Housewives.
Yeah, but I mean, you know, those shows go on forever.
That seemingly. What do you got anything coming up besides Reagan? Are you you're going off to work somewhere soon?
I'm actually taking some time off. I have to get a shoulder repaired, so I'm
Okay.
going to do that. But there's a series coming out September 5th on Netflix called The Perfect Couple,
Okay.
and I'm in that.
All right. Do you play part of the perfect couple?
No, believe it or not, I play a police officer.
Oh, well, there you
I know
go.
that's hard to imagine, but
No, it is. It is. It's very hard to imagine you playing a police
I
officer.
know. Well, after a while, I think it was back during the late 90s or something. I played so many police officers
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
and sheriffs and small town deputies and all that. I
yeah, yeah.
finally just went to the agent and I said, look, no more sheriffs. I mean, unless the show is called The Sheriff,
Right,
I don't want to play any more sheriff.
right, right. Well, to be honest, you played one of the ultimate lawmen in
Yeah.
Justified. So, take a break from that. Well, except for the perfect couple.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when are you getting that surgery done?
Tomorrow.
Oh
Actually.
shit.
Yeah.
Well, have fun recuperating and all the medication that goes along with it.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. It's,
Yeah.
I mean, the worst part is like, I'm not really going to be that mobile for a while. I'm
Yeah,
not
no,
going to
I
be able
get
to
you.
really drive, so I'm afraid it's going to be a little bit boring.
Oh
And I
hell.
have to wear a sling for like 3 weeks.
Well, at least you're not like my grandfather. My grandmother didn't drive, so when they were down in North Carolina, now they didn't have anybody down there, no family because they were up here. He had knee surgery and he drove himself to and from the hospital after knee surgery
Oh
from
wow,
from Brevard up to Hendersonville.
that's a
So
man right there.
World War II vet. He was in a tank in Africa and Germany.
Yeah.
He's always been one of my heroes.
Wow, that's great.
Yeah. Well, Nick, I just want to say again that the Justify This is available now. You can get it pretty much anywhere. If you want to do what I do, get it on Kindle from Amazon or buy a physical book. Check it out. Reagan comes out on August 30th,
Yeah.
where you play Baker. That's awesome too.
Yeah.
And I wish you all the best and good luck with that surgery, especially. Take it easy, okay?
Thank you so much. I want to mention one more thing.
Sure.
I have a documentary that's out now that we
Oh,
released at least I think we released it May 17th. It came out right before the book, called The War on Truth.
mhm.
And it's a documentary about the way people who went to Washington on January 6th have been treated by the government. So
Okay.
it's pretty hard hitting. You can find it at warontruthmovie.com. It's also available on salemnow.com.
All right, sounds good. I'll put the link to that when I post the interview.
Okay, great.
All right, thank you so much, Nick. You take care.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.